Hi, and welcome to our program. For the 10th anniversary of Godsbanen, we are checking out the iconic building and the workshops. Let's see it.
Please, I think this is where we have the. This is where we can melt.
Okay.
We've got a gas burner, so we can get up to the right temperatures for melting metals.
Yeah, and there's someone supervising.
Yeah.
And
at any one time, there'll be someone meeting you at whatever level you need supervision. You get the help you need. And we've got people that come in here and are completely, self-contained and know what they want to do. They experiment with the colours and the materials and get to where they want to do, but use the facilities. And we've got people who come in for the first time who are like,
yeah, it's a bit overwhelming.
And it's fine. Our job is to welcome anybody who'd like to turn up and back you up in you getting to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And as I said, outside the opening hours for anybody, we run courses, and this workshop has a lot of courses. So you can join an intro course in jewellery, or you can do an intro course on the screen printing, or you can do one in the graphics press. So the courses are specialised in a particular discipline, maybe even a particular level of
it makes
experience.
Sense.
And when we run courses, we typically do it in association with some of the big course-making associations.
Okay.
That seems to work well. That we provide, staff and facilities, and the text and the pictures, but they run the machine of getting
the participants.
Yeah, getting the participants and doing that, and that works really well for us. We work with at least four different associations running courses.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, this is a really complex.
It is, and you come in and it's So when it's called the Textiles Workshop, that's a complete understatement.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of possibilities. Every little bit, every little drawer is full of details that are important for a process of some kind.
Yeah, details are the key, after all. Yeah, and the irons and everything. Well, should we go to the next one?
Go to the next one?
Yeah. And there's also a lot of books. Is it related to?
They are probably across the disciplines I've just spoken about. No doubt though you'll find a book on
yeah, that's also very helpful.
Jewelry, for inspiration and for knowledge and for
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go to the next one then.
This is one of the associations that we work with, and every 6 months they do a new printout of all the different courses, and in the back of this they run courses across the city of Aarhus, and then you get to the back and it says which courses do they do here in Godsbanen.
And there's all the information there.
There's all the information you need, and we run a lot of different courses. So, yeah.
Okay. That is very helpful also. Yeah.
We just have a peek in here.
Yeah.
This is where the sound came from before. Great place. So it means you can, when you want to rinse off your screens, you can use the pressure hose here. You can make all the splashing you like because it's all set up for it. Hard to do at home in the kitchen.
Yeah.
We've got the little cooker here where you can heat up your liquid if you want to tie dye and get all the. So we've got a gas burner and we've got the kind of the big. It's a big tub.
Does it need to be hotter?
I don't actually know with the plant-based stuff, but some of the others. But there's kind of there's a whole facility here just for the colouring of textiles.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's nice because it can for sure get a little bit messy.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And out here we have, it looks just like a sad storage, but it's actually for when you want to print very large textiles. They can hang here drawing.
Okay.
If you want to use the big, the big screens, you can do that too.
Okay. And what about this thing in the background, like the big
one with the green frame?
Yeah.
I think it's part of one of the processes in there. It's just for large scale. It doesn't come in use very often.
Okay.
But sometimes an artist will turn up with a very large scale project, and then we can roll this one in.
Yeah, and it's always helpful.
Yeah. Now that was a vague answer because they don't know exactly what it is you can do.
And this is already some of the work that ceramics are doing. Oh, there's so many things. Wow.
Yeah. Now ceramics is the one workshop where you have to book ahead to have a space, and that's simply because it's such a large demand to have ceramics. You come in here and just get a sense for the
smell changes again.
Yeah, and the smell changes, but also the wide range of products that are happening here. And again, it's a room where some people come in with 30 years of knowledge, but use our facilities because we may have something that works in particular. Or they're pure beginners coming in having never tried clay out before. The way it works is that you can book either a kicking wheel, like where you do the throwing of pots, or you can just ask for a tabletop space, and then you can roll up clay, or you can just model your sculptures or whatever you want. We've got a range of different clays you can choose from. We've got a range of different glazes. And the way it works with ceramics is that you on the first day you work in the wet clay, then there's some drying time, then you have it fired. Once it's fired the first time, you can glaze it, and then it needs firing a second time.
So it's very complex.
Those are the usual steps. Yeah. So people who do a process where they want glazed ceramics, they actually come back over several times.
So that was what I was going to ask. This is not like for some people. This is not like one type of thing. You need to come back actually several times to finish.
That's the nature of clay. You can't get all the way from start to finish in one go. But that depends on which material you work with. But that's the nature of clay. And then you come back, and then your things may be fired the first time, and then you go in and you do your glazing, and you put it out on the shelves again, and a week or two later it's been through the second round. We have 4 different kilns, and they pretty much run all the time, so we constantly fire clay, and the staff here are really efficient, and they have good systems for so that when you've made a piece of work here, they know exactly what date was it made and when should it go through and which kiln. So there's a really smooth process here. And this is also a workshop where outside the opening hours, it's not like the others aren't open, then we run courses, and there's a lot of demand for ceramic courses. They're sold out like this at the moment. Which is crazy. 15 years ago, everybody's like, ceramics?
Yeah, I don't know
how. Do that. And now it's completely the thing to do.
Yeah, it's super trendy right now.
Which is great. I mean, I've made ceramics for the last 35 years. I always thought it was fun. But, that's just me personally.
No, but it's really cool. I think people are also getting more creative, maybe. Like,
and it's the nice thing about clay is it's very accessible, and it's very, you immediately get a result. Just stick your finger in a piece of clay and something happens. So it's got a low entry point, but there's no end to how complex you can go. And the courses we run, we have the intro courses, for sure, lots of those. But we also have just had the most amazing course with very, very experienced people joining from all over the country to learn about concrete and glazes, which is a nerdy field of experience, but we had one of the leading experts teach, and a lot of professionals who really were there to learn more. And
some more advanced.
I think the open workshops are here to spread across from the very beginners to the very experienced, and we house the exchange of knowledge and the learning and the creating and the research and the curiosity and the satisfaction of making things happen. The joy of actually getting from an idea to an actual result.
That seems so great.
So let's go in and have a look at what they're making.
Let's hope it's not too crowded. It's a little bit. Okay. And you always have like samples.
These are a lot of little samples. You can test them. You can see the glazes and what are they.
11 eller 12 på for eksempel.
Okay.
Så betyder det, det der det er kommet ud over. Og så er det 6.
Og så bliver
Glazes on the,
lige nu der er nødt til at blive sur, ellers så er det en meget mærkelig hobby at have med far.
Ah, okay.
So you can get a sense of what it looks like once it's fired on this particular clay. But of course,
So is this after the second or the first?
it's after
The second. Okay, so it's like more finished results.
And the way the room is set up is that we have the 6 kicking wheels here, where you can do the throwing. We've got all the tables too, where you can do your modeling and building of clay. And what we find is that actually mostly there's twice as many working in this field than in this field. We have both so that it's for the individual to choose what's right.
Yeah, wow.
I'll just show you something. So here's, like in the textiles department, we've got this set up for the individual processes. So if you want to glaze your cup or your bowl or your plate, it happens in here in a spray cabin where so all the safety is yeah, we've got the extraction happening, we've got the right setup, we've got a very, very strong and robust overview of what are the chemicals to use, make sure that it's all within health and safety regulations.
Yeah, very
I just want to show you something over here.
Hej Thomas.
Because of course for every one of the colours you see on the big board over there, it all depends on which type of clay you put it on. Because you might start with a white clay and then a glaze does one thing, but if you start with a black type of clay or a red clay, something else happens. So the staff here have made a very wide amount of samples.
Okay.
So you can have a look here and say, but I'd like what happens if I use this clay with that blue. So for every one of these boxes, somebody's actually made.
Okay. What does this mean in general?
This says what kind of glaze is it? Is it for stoneware? And it's to do with at what temperature is the clay fired? What does it do?
Okay.
And this is then stoneware glaze on black clay.
Okay.
This is stoneware glaze on red clay.
Okay.
This is stoneware glaze on lava prick, which is a speckled clay.
Okay. Ah, yeah, you can also see here.
Yeah. So it may be the same glaze, but on different types of clay.
Okay.
So this is it's a fantastic catalogue of possibilities.
And what about this part?
Again, it's also showing you the possibilities. So it's the same bowl, the same clay, but with different glazes on.
Okay.
Do different things. It's like a color sample.
Okay. So this is. Okay, yeah, so this also takes into consideration the glaze itself, and this is more like the color to see how it looks like. Okay.
So, many possibilities.
Yeah.
And you can also do casting. We have some plaster molds. And I don't know if you can imagine if you have very, very liquid clay, if you have rather than a stiff lump of clay, but you actually have a very runny clay. You can pour liquid clay into a plaster mold, and then it dries out and sets. And then you can pour it out again, and it leaves a little bit of
just the shape kind of.
shape. Once it's dry, you can actually lift that out, and then you've cast an exact copy of the previous one.
Okay.
So it's a different technique you can use.
But to do a lot.
Yeah.
And the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Can we also see where
it's fired?
Yes.
Yes. Let's go out and see where it's fired.
Yes, that sounds very cool. So the fired is the first one, and the second one is the glazed, or the glazed is the.
You have to fire twice. So you have your wet clay, and then it dries out. And it has to be dry, but it's still fragile. And then it gets into a firing, like this one,
Okay.
and gets fired up to, depending on which clay it is, maybe 1250 degrees.
Okay.
And it comes out, and then it's kind of hard. But it's not. It's got no glaze on it. It's just
Like
biscuit fired, as it's called. And then you decide, what do I want to do to it? You know,
Okay.
do I leave it like this? Some of your plant pots at home are probably without a glaze, and that's fine. But it lets liquid through, for instance. You can't use it to drink out of,
okay.
for instance. And then you think, no, I'd like to glaze it. And then you decide which glaze to use.
Okay.
And then once you've glazed it, you put it on the shelves, and the glaze comes out. It sets like a thin coat of powder.
Okay.
And then that's being put into a kiln again and fired again, and the glaze melts and creates this, colourful surface.
Okay.
Colourful. It depends on which colour you've chosen, of course. But yeah, so 2 different firings to
Okay.
get to. And
It's really complex. I had no idea.
yeah,
So it was way easier, like to just go shape it and that's leave it to dry and that's it.
that's it.
A little bit more complex than that. But yeah.
As I said, we've got 4 kilns, and they're pretty much always in running. It takes a while for it to get up to high temperature. It takes a while for it to come down again. So even that is a slow process.
Yeah.
But if you work with ceramics, that's just how it is.
Yeah. Cool. Next one?
Yeah,
This is so big. And it doesn't seem so big
I know.
It's-
And,
yeah.
changes of smell.
also.
Now we get to the
Again.
wood. Here's the laser workshop.
Okay.
Ayolas,
Hi.
we have visitors. I hope it's okay that I talk a little bit about your workshop.
Thank you.
This is a laser workshop, and there's actually 3 different activities possible in here. It's called the laser workshop because we've got this beautiful laser machine where basically you can turn up. Hi. And this is one of the exceptions, like with the big print workshop.
Okay.
Basically, you don't run the laser printer.
Okay.
Our
The other
staff runs that.
Okay.
But you turn up with your design, maybe on a USB, or you send an email with, here's what I'd like to have printed. Then you talk to the staff about if you want it printed on wood, or on plastic, or on metal. If you
Okay.
come with me over here, I can show you some different samples of what's possible.
This is really cool.
So this is cut out flat, and then the sample. We have you can cut in metal.
Yeah,
You can
okay.
cut in plastic. We can maybe just scratch the surface,
Okay.
whereas this one's cut all the way through. Or you could do something in between, very deep.
Wow.
So it's very amazing
Yeah.
what can be done on the laser cutter. And we work for all sorts of people. The individual that wants a sign for their own door at home, or for businesses that want signs for their doors. But it could also be a museum that wants parts for their exhibition. It can be a chemical institute that wants doors for their cupboards. It can be a designer that wants a mock-up for their next prototype for a chair. It can be a tailoring company that wants some of the wool fabrics cut out because they want to make
Okay.
clothes.
Wow.
It can be somebody who wants it can be any. It can be an artist that wants to have a rose cut, or
Yeah.
so it's quite an amazing range of possibilities here. And the difference from most of the other workshops is that you bring a design, you speak to the staff, but they do the doing.
Yeah.
And then I recognize these bits because I saw them on a drawing the other day. They're actually new. It's for our own signs, our own posters within the house of Godsbanen. So this is actually a little order I put in. So this is great. So you'll be able to see those later. So this is the shaper. and it's a handheld. It's a handheld digital machine, and basically it means you can put in your design, and the machine knows what you want to make. Because of these images here, it knows how to steer, and basically, even if I shake a little bit, it'll follow the drawing on the machine to the absolute detail, and we can make very, very precise
cuts
and finishes, and extremely delicious results. And whereas if you cut wood on the laser printer, it always comes out with a dark edge because it basically burns through, and that can look nice. But if you don't want it, you can cut it on the shaper. So it's like a saw. It's just very advanced level of a hand saw.
Yeah, I thought this was. I don't know why I imagined this bigger in my head.
The shaper?
Yeah.
And the nice thing about it is it's not bigger because it means you can actually physically handle it.
Yeah.
And do your work. And then you might say, but when would I use a digital one, and when would I just use a normal handheld one next door? So it depends on your project. It depends on what you. For some things, this is the better version because you get to a crisper result. But it could also be the slower version. So whether you want one or the other, it's just a matter of which workshop you. Again, very personalized. It's part of our range of possibilities.
Yeah. Wow. Cool.
The glasses.
Yes. Thank you. So we go to the next one. What is the next one about?
The next one's a wood workshop.
Okay.
Tack.
Thank you. Yeah, with the glasses and everything.
So you asked if you can buy materials here. Yes, here's an example of how we have a lot of different types of wood to use because we're now about to go into our wood workshop. And now for the metals workshop.
Yeah. Again, the smell changes. Wow, this is really big.
Surprise, surprise, like the others. I've got a lot of different possibilities within itself. So we're standing next to the welding department, and even within here you can weld in different materials with different gases. So it has a wide range of possibilities when you want to weld. We've got, what you hear there is the drilling. We can do the cutting. We've got a huge machine over here that can really cut sharp, big plates.
Wow, this seems so intimidating.
We have one that can bend big tubes or bend thin bits. We've got a whole grinding department in here. The light turns off in here. If you want to use the grinding, so if you made some welding that doesn't look too good, you can come in here and grind it away. We've got a sandblaster in here if you want to sandblast your surfaces. We've got different drills, different and there's a lot of machines here, and some of these machines run all the way back from 50 years ago when the municipality of Aarhus started up the open workshop concept. And then over the years we've added to the volume of machines. But some of them are very old, but very well kept by our staff, by our volunteers who really care for this facility to be available. And the people that turn up here, again, there may be students from the School of Architecture, our neighbour, who do a little mock-up for a project they do. It can be artists that want to make a sculpture for, for somewhere in the world. It can be a private person that just want to fix his bike and just needs a new rod for the saddle. Yeah. It can be somebody with another private person that has an engine that doesn't run and he just needs to fix a little bit.
Yeah.
With his,
so it's like small and bigger projects.
Small and bigger, private or professional. It can be young and old. Our oldest user of the metal workshop is an artist, a lady of 96 years old. She's come here over many years. When we run our intro courses, intro to the metals department, I usually find I try and keep an eye out on the diversity, that we don't sort of end up with one type of people here, because I really think in our DNA we need to think wide, broad, and what I notice is that for our metals workshop courses, there's 8 spots for an intro course here. That's what works well for the room and the teacher. We usually have 4 women, 4 men, and the age range from 22 to 72. And it happens over and over again. So I'm like, okay, clearly something in the text appeals to a lot of different people.
Yeah.
And the only thing that, I did one of those courses, the only thing that we share as participants is that we don't know anything about metals beforehand, but we're curious to get to know more. You don't have to have an intro course to use the room, but it's a nice way to break ground. And we do the same. So once you've been on a metals course, like you said before, it's a little bit intimidating. Or a little bit, you can get daunted by all the machines and maybe
no
you have
idea
this
where
vision.
to start.
But the nice thing is that even in the first hour, you realize, but it's all accessible. You don't have to be strong. The machine does the strong bit. You just have to decide where it's cutting, or where it's bending, or where it's drilling. And welding is really good fun. Welding is not that hard. It may be hard to make a beautiful welding, but then that's when the lifetime experience comes. But to actually immediately think, hey, I can weld. You can do that. Really, it's very accessible. And what we find is the intro courses have this kind of, you may come in and think, well, I'm not sure I'm okay. And quite quickly it's like, okay, I feel comfortable here. I can do this. Guided by a good teacher, of course, but also in company with other beginners who think, it's quite good fun. And within it's usually a 9 or a 10-hour course over a couple of days in total. You end up doing your own projects and end up thinking, God, I didn't even need to ask, because I know what to do. I know now it's about my ideas. And people build furniture. They, all sorts of things are happening.
Diversified.
Yeah. And then in the wood workshop, we actually have, because of course there's a lot of machines in there too, and some of them are, really dangerous if you get it wrong. So we're always very observant about health and safety and introductions. Yeah, of course. And on our intro course, we similarly find it's men and women, it's all ages that turn up. And the teacher, who's a permanent member of staff here, very, very experienced woodworker, she has designed this little chair, a little stool, and it's a nice stool. So it's a nice product in itself with a nice finish. But the reason for that design is that from the beginning of the course, you start off with some very raw, boards and some planks that are really rough.
Okay.
And then you end up with this little neat chair. And on the way to the product, you've actually been introduced to all the key machines, all the base techniques, all the good to know processes, so that by the end of the course you can go home with your stool, and that's fine, but it's really you're learning along the way. It means that next time you come in here, you're actually very familiar with all the base, tools.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And that's so great. That's what makes it accessible to everybody. And that's so great about it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for showing us around, Marianne.
I hope you come back.
Yes,
I hope you enjoy.
I hope so too. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for being curious about it.